So I'm not gonna lie to you guys, I didn't even know that this was a story until about 4 or 5 minutes ago when I got a random DM from someone asking me, Fuzzy, why are you not talking about Anthony Rizzo versus the Chicago Cubs? And I thought to myself, is he referring to Anthony Rizzo getting traded? I'm confused. I don't know what happened. Well, sure enough, I looked into it, and Anthony Rizzo had a few interesting comments to say about his former team, the Cubs, and specifically the GM, Jed Hoyer. There was a small part of me that thought maybe the light at the end of the tunnel was that the Cubs were going to trade away Kris Bryant, Javier Baez, and Anthony Rizzo to get as many pieces as they possibly could, and then maybe in the future they could re-sign with the Chicago Cubs and reform the dynasty. But after these comments from both Jed Hoyer and Anthony Rizzo, in my opinion, the dynasty, it's donezo. I don't think they're coming back. What's going on, everyone? It's Fuzzy. Welcome back to yet another MLB recap. If this is your first time on the channel, don't be afraid to hit that subscribe button. We do this every single day. Well, actually, almost every single day, because for today and tomorrow, I will be out of town on a family vacation. So unfortunately, we're not going to have a full-blown MLB recap, but we still have some juicy news to talk about. And it's a very short vacation. I'll be back on Monday, so there you go. But in my opinion, I feel like this started all the way back in 2016 when the Cubs, they finally broke the curse and they won a World Series with Theo Epstein at the helm. He was the general manager for the Cubs at the time. And to me, Jed Hoyer, I don't think that he wants to ride off the coattails. Maybe that's what he's thinking of Theo Epstein. So he wants to get rid of Kris Bryant, Javier Baez, Anthony Rizzo, the newcomers Craig Kimbrell and Ryan Tepera. He wants a completely new team so he can show the entire baseball world that he can form a championship squad without the help of Theo Epstein, and that Jed Hoyer is a GM and he's capable of doing it on his own, if that makes sense. And I know the Chicago Cubs weren't very good in 2021, but I really feel like Jed Hoyer, based off the comments that he made today, he really thinks that he is the best general manager in baseball because nothing gets to him. So he traded away Kris Bryant, Anthony Rizzo, Javier Baez, Craig Kimbrell. We all know that. But this comes after the Chicago Cubs completely butchered the Kris Bryant situation. Back in 2016 when he was a rookie, they held him down for 2 to 3 weeks so they can manipulate his service time. And in doing so, fast forward to 2020, or was it 2019, when Kris Bryant was trying to win an arbitration case. The only reason why it went to arbitration is because the Cubs screwed him over in his rookie season by holding him down. So the Cubs, in my opinion, they're not getting Kris Bryant back anytime soon. Now, in regards to Javier Baez and Anthony Rizzo, this is where it gets a little bit dicey because to me, Cubs fans absolutely adore Anthony Rizzo. Now, Javier Baez might be a different story because he strikes out a lot. He doesn't have the best discipline. His defense wasn't as good. So maybe Cubs fans are like, hey, we don't mind losing Javier Baez, but Anthony Rizzo is the one guy that we believe can come back and save us and bring us back to the promised land. But that's probably not going to happen. Now, before we talk about the comments from Jed Hoyer and Anthony Rizzo, I do want to mention the fact that this could have all been avoided if the former personnel for the Cubs had simply done their jobs to their fullest potential by locking up Javier Baez, by locking up Anthony Rizzo and Kris Bryant with extensions. But that's where Jed Hoyer comes into play because he basically said that Baez, Rizzo, and Bryant were all talk. He essentially called them liars and that they never wanted to come back to the Chicago Cubs, that they would say it out loud as fluff, but then behind closed doors, they would lie and want more money than they were saying and not actually want to stay in Chicago. But to me, I feel like this comes down to the fact that they gave an extension to Jason Hayward and wasted all of that money. They traded away Eloy Jimenez and Dylan Cease for Jose Quintana. So a lot of things happened in the demise of the Chicago Cubs and their dynasty coming to an end. But to me, the final blow, these comments from Jed Hoyer. These are direct quotes. I am not making up anything. Jed Hoyer says after trading away Anthony Rizzo, Javier Baez, and Kris Bryant, the dynasty that led the Cubs to a 2016 World Series championship, he had these comments to say. So this is the thing that will probably be my greatest source of frustration from this era. And I don't want to address anyone individually. We said we wouldn't talk about extension talks publicly, and I think it's in bad faith to do it now. The only thing I will say is that while frustrating, I put my head on the pillow every night knowing that we put our best foot forward. The extensions we offered these guys will hold up exponentially well. Historically, they'll hold up exponentially well and against the open market. I don't know why these guys didn't want to sign. I don't know why these guys didn't want to counteroffer oftentimes. Because every one of these guys would say they wanted to stay in Chicago. We want to be a Cub. He's essentially quoting those three guys. But when we sat down to do negotiations, that wasn't how they acted. I see a guy like Lance Lynn who comes to Chicago and signs an extension, and he certainly could have gotten more on the open market this winter, but he said, I want to stay here. I want to be a White Sox. That wasn't something that, other than Kyle Hendricks, who I admire for really rolling up his sleeves with us, we didn't have that, and so it's a source of incredible frustration for me. But at the same time, it's a source of zero second guessing, a source of zero analysis from my end. What could we have done? Because I look at it and I know what was offered and I know what the dialogue was. I accept that we put our best foot forward and tried our hardest, but it was not reciprocated. Wow. So in a nutshell, Jed Hoyer is essentially telling the entire fan base of the Chicago Cubs that he had nothing to do with this. He was forced to trade these three guys because behind closed doors, Kris Bryant, Javier Baez, and Anthony Rizzo, they were not willing to have a hometown discount in order to keep the dynasty intact. So when you blame a guy like Anthony Rizzo, who pretty much gave his heart and soul to the city of Chicago, he wasn't happy.
Sounds like a bad breakup and the person saying that they're fine when they're not fine. I mean, listen, you have, when it comes to the guys on our team and what we did, and Gold Gloves, Silver Sluggers, MVPs, Rookie of the Years, those things cost money. And I know it comes down to a business, and when you want your cake, you want to eat it too. I mean, that was just kind of how it seemed. And I think it can all speak for itself that there's a common denominator no one signed. And whoever wants to dig in that can, but I just think that we had such great memories there that to come out on air and say that just doesn't really make sense, but it is what it is.
So as you guys just heard, essentially what Anthony Rizzo shared about his perspective on the situation is simply why. Why on earth would you say that? He even likened it to a relationship of a scorned ex. Why are you coming out and saying this now? Why didn't you say this to me when we were actually together? That's pretty much what Rizzo has to offer on this situation, and I fully expect other players to talk on it as the season progresses. So honestly, I feel like this situation could only get worse, and Jed Hoyer, he did put his foot in his mouth. Now, he did try to walk the comments back, but at this moment, I think it's too late, especially when guys like Anthony Rizzo have been quoted that they wanted to stay with Chicago, that they would be willing to, quote, sink with the ship, and they had an emotional talk with Jed Hoyer behind closed doors. I don't understand why Jed said these things. They're not coming back, in my opinion. Now, again, I do think that Jed did a fairly decent job at getting some players back in return with Nick Madrigal and Kevin Alcantara, a prospect, and a bunch of other guys. Cody Hoyer came on over in the Craig Kimbrell trade. So I do think that the Cubs have a chance at being pretty good in the next couple years, but without Baez and Rizzo and Kris Bryant, the fan base is kind of left with a feeling of what's next? And also, it probably doesn't feel too great as a fan to be told from your GM that, hey, your favorite players were lying to you. They were greedy behind the scenes, and they were saying a lot of fluff when they were on the field and in interviews, which apparently was not the case according to Jed Hoyer, but he walked the comments back, so I'm going to take the side of Anthony Rizzo and the players. But that is just my perspective. I want you guys to let me know in the comment section down below. Do you believe Jed Hoyer, the fact that he came out publicly and said that the Cubs could have had all of these guys if they were willing to be more like Lance Lynn and sign extensions, and instead they scorn their fan base? Or are you on the side of Anthony Rizzo and saying, hey, I was honest with this guy, we tried to get the deals done, and it just didn't happen, even though I was willing to sink with the ship? That was direct quotes from Anthony Rizzo. And also, I think I read a quote that read that Javier Baez would be willing to, sign an extension with the Mets, but also he wouldn't rule out a return to Chicago. So keep that in mind as well. I just hope that Jed Hoyer does not ruin that chance, because honestly, with his fat mouth, he could very well do that. But anyways, everyone, that does it for today's MLB recap. Thank you all so much for watching until the end. If you did, I really appreciate it. I know you guys were expecting a full-blown recap. Just unfortunately, I'm traveling for a family vacation, but I will be back Monday. Love you guys a lot. Peace out.